tablets, where'd you get them? Those iPads your kids have, where'd they come from? Show me receipts.
Officer, we are having lunch. My grandchildren and I are customers here.
I did not ask if you were customers. I asked where those tablets came from. Kids like that do not have iPads. You know what I mean. And you're being loud, disruptive. This is not your...
Think about what you just witnessed. A police officer, a grandmother, two small children, a crowded restaurant, and a confrontation about to become a $3.2 million mistake. Stay with me, because Officer Craig Whitman just told the wrong woman she does not belong here. That woman is Council Member Diane Foster, 56 years old, third term, Public Safety Committee. One of 15 people who vote on whether Whitman keeps his badge, and he just told her she does not belong. When these videos go viral, when the city realizes what happened, this is going to force a reckoning about how police treat black families in spaces white officers think belong only to them. Leave a comment if you believe Whitman just made a career-ending mistake. This is not just any grandmother. This is power meeting prejudice, and prejudice is about to lose. Council Member Diane Foster had spent 16 years fighting for her community, first as a teacher in underfunded schools, then as a community organizer pushing for investment in neglected neighborhoods, and for the past 12 years as a city council member representing the East Side, the part of the city that white politicians called urban core and black residents called home. 16 years. And in all that time, through all those budget fights and policy battles and community meetings, Diane had never stopped being a grandmother first, never stopped prioritizing the two children who called her Nana and made her life make sense. Every Saturday that Diane was not traveling for council business, she picked up her grandchildren from their mother's house on the East Side and took them somewhere special. Sometimes the Science Museum, sometimes the park with the good playground, sometimes the library, where Amara could spend hours in the children's section while Deshawn played educational games on the computers. Today, they were celebrating. Amara, 9 years old, had made honor roll for the third straight semester. Deshawn, 7 years old, had won his school spelling bee, beating fifth graders with words like quarantine and magnificent. Diane had promised them a reward, their choice. They chose Chick-fil-A in Riverside, not the one on the East Side near their house. The one in Riverside, the wealthy suburb where the playground was bigger, the restaurant was newer, and the experience felt like a treat rather than routine. Riverside, population 42,000, median household income $118,000, 91% white, 4% black. The kind of suburb where people moved specifically to get away from the city, where yard signs about property values outnumbered signs about people, where the police department had a reputation for aggressive enforcement of anything that looked out of place. Diane knew Riverside's reputation, knew the stories from constituents who had been stopped for driving through, questioned for walking through, followed in stores for shopping through. She had fought for years to get the city to investigate Riverside PD for racial profiling, had pushed for citizen oversight, had demanded data on traffic stops and use of force, and she had been met with resistance. From Riverside's mayor, from their police chief, from white council members who said she was playing the race card, who said Riverside was safe because of aggressive policing, who said if people did not want to be questioned, they should stay in their own neighborhoods. But here is what those council members did not understand. Diane was not asking permission. She was not requesting access. She was asserting the right of her grandchildren to exist in public spaces without suspicion, to eat lunch in a nice restaurant. So when Amara and Deshawn asked to go to the playground, the teacher said, "No, you can't go to the playground." The teacher was a white woman, and the playground was in a wealthy white suburb. The children were black. So when Amara and Deshawn asked to go to the Riverside Chick-fil-A, Diane said yes. Packed them in her car, drove 20 minutes from the East Side, pulled into the parking lot at 1:15 on a Saturday afternoon, walked through the door with her head high and her grandchildren's hands in hers. She bought them lunch, chicken nuggets for Deshawn, grilled chicken sandwich for Amara, waffle fries for both, lemonade, ice cream, the full experience. And because they had earned it, because they had worked hard and succeeded, Because their grandmother believed in rewarding achievement, Diane gave them the gifts she had been saving for this moment. 2 tablets, not top of the line, not extravagant, but new, theirs, wrapped in the store packaging with the receipts inside. They sat at a table near the playground. Amara unwrapped her tablet carefully, reading the instructions, asking Diane to help set up the parental controls. Deshaun ripped his open with 7-year-old enthusiasm, immediately asking if he could download a dinosaur game. Diane laughed, helped them both, set up the tablets while they ate their lunch, watched them glow with pride and joy. Amara showed her the honor roll certificate she kept in her backpack. Deshaun recited the winning word from his spelling bee. Magnificent. M-A-G-N-I-F-I-C-E-N-T. Magnificent. This was the moment Diane lived for. Not the council meetings, or the budget votes, or the policy victories. This. Her grandchildren. Happy, safe, celebrated. And then Officer Craig Whitman walked over to their table. Officer Craig Whitman is on his lunch break. 38 years old, 12 years with Riverside Police Department. He is in uniform, armed, eating a chicken sandwich 3 tables away from Diane and her grandchildren. He has been watching them since they sat down. Not because they are doing anything wrong, because they are there. Black grandmother, 2 black children, in his restaurant, in his suburb, on his lunch break. Officer Whitman has a history. 6 complaints of excessive force in 12 years, all investigated by his own department, all dismissed. 2 complaints specifically alleging racial slurs, both marked unsubstantiated due to lack of corroborating witnesses. 1 complaint from a black family claiming Whitman told them to go back to where they came from. Dismissed because the family did not follow up after being discouraged by the internal affairs process. Council Member Foster does not know this history yet, but she will, because after today, she will request every complaint, every body camera video, every disciplinary record that Riverside PD has on Officer Craig Whitman, and she will discover a pattern that should have ended his career years ago. Whitman finishes his sandwich, wipes his hands, stands up. His eyes are on the tablets. New. Still in packaging. 2 black kids, expensive electronics. In his mind, the math is simple. Theft, or welfare fraud, or something wrong. He walks over, does not introduce himself politely, does not ask permission to interrupt their lunch, just stands at the edge of their table, hand resting on his belt near his weapon, and speaks with the tone of someone who expects immediate compliance. Those tablets, where did you get them? Diane looks up. She is 56 years old. She has been a black woman in America for 56 years. She knows this tone, knows what it means, knows where this is going. But she stays calm because her grandchildren are watching, because she will not teach them to fear police, because she has done nothing wrong. Excuse me? Those iPads your kids have, where did they come from? Show me receipts. Amara's smile fades. Deshaun stops mid-bite, chicken nugget halfway to his mouth. They both look at their grandmother, confused. Why is the police officer mad? Officer, we are having lunch. My grandchildren and I are customers here. Is there a problem? Whitman's jaw tightens. He does not like her tone. Does not like that she did not immediately comply. Does not like that she is questioning him instead of submitting. I did not ask if you were customers. I asked where those tablets came from. Kids like that do not have iPads. Kids like that. Everyone in the restaurant knows what that means. The white family at the next table stops eating, listening. A teenage employee behind the counter pulls out her phone. The restaurant manager freezes near the register, uncertain. Kids like that. Not kids this age. Not kids in this restaurant. Kids like that. Black kids. Kids who, in Officer Whitman's mind, should not have nice things unless those nice things are stolen. Diane takes a breath. She could end this now. Could pull out her city council ID. Could invoke her position. But she wants to see how far this will go. Wants to document how this officer treats people when he thinks there are no consequences. Wants evidence, not assumptions. Kids like what, officer? Whitman leans in. His voice drops but stays hard. You know what I mean. Those tablets are worth $600 each. You expect me to believe you bought them? Yes, I do expect you to believe that. Because I did buy them. And I do not appreciate your implication. You are getting loud. Whitman's hand moves closer to his weapon, not threatening yet, just present. You are being disruptive, and frankly, this is not your neighborhood. There are other Chick-fil-A's, ones in your area. You do not need to be here. Amara starts crying, silent tears running down her 9-year-old face because a police officer is yelling at her Nana and she does not understand why. Deshaun has put down his nugget, his hand reaching for his grandmother under the table, his 7-year-old brain trying to process why the man with the gun is angry at them for having tablets. Diane puts her arm around Deshaun, squeezes Amara's hand, keeps her voice level, for them, because they are watching. Because what she does next will teach them how to survive encounters like this. Officer, we have every right to be here. We are paying customers. Warrants your attention. And I need warrants your attention. And I need your name and badge number because this is harassment. Whitman's face flushes. His voice rises. Other diners are definitely watching now. The teenage employee is definitely recording. The manager is on the phone, presumably calling a supervisor. You do not tell me what to do. People like you do not give me orders. You want to be here? Fine. But I am going to verify those tablets are not stolen. And if you do not cooperate, I can call Child Protective Services. Have them check whether those kids should even be with you. The threat lands like a blow. Diane sees Amara's eyes go wide, sees Deshaun's hand tighten on hers, sees the fear that black parents and grandparents know too well, the fear that the state can take your children based on an officer's word. Diane decides, enough. Officer Whitman. Diane decides, enough. Officer Whitman. Diane's voice is quiet, controlled, but it carries. Your badge number is 247. I can see it from here. I know your name because I have read your file. I have read the 6 excessive force complaints against you. I have read the 2 racial profiling complaints that your department dismissed. I sit on the city council. I serve on the public safety committee. I vote on your budget. I vote on your contract. I vote on your oversight. And what you are doing right now, harassing my grandchildren and me in a public restaurant because you have decided we do not belong here, is career suicide. The restaurant has gone silent. Every person is watching. Multiple phones are recording. Since you clearly cannot manage that basic thing, I'm going to have to do it myself. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I'm not a human being. I'm a robot. I'm sorry, but since you clearly cannot manage that basic standard, let me be clear. You are going to walk away from this table. You are going to leave this restaurant. You are going to document this encounter in a report that I will request first thing Monday morning. And then you are going to wait for the consequences." Whitman backs away, stammers something about just doing his job, leaves the restaurant, gets in his patrol car, drives away. Diane sits back down, holds her grandchildren, and calls her chief of staff. This is Council Member Diane Foster, who spent 12 years fighting for police accountability, who serves on the committee that oversees police funding, who was harassed by an officer who thought she was powerless because she was black and her grandchildren were black, and they were eating lunch in a suburb that did not expect them. Type "Protect Black Children" in the comments if you think Officer Whitman crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. By the time Diane gets her grandchildren to their mother's house an hour later, she has made 5 phone calls. To her chief of staff, to her attorney, to a child psychologist who specializes in trauma, to the Riverside city manager, to the local newspaper. She has not called Riverside Police Department, will not give them advance warning, will not let them shape the narrative before she controls it. That evening, after Amara and Deshawn are home with their mother, after Diane has explained what happened and watched her daughter's face shift from confusion to rage, after they have decided together to pursue this fully and publicly, Diane sits at her dining room table with her laptop and builds her case. She has the receipts. For the tablets, purchased 3 days ago at Best Buy, $627 each, including tax. For the lunch at Chick-fil-A, $32.19. For the gas to drive to Riverside and back. For everything. She has the video. The teenage employee who recorded the confrontation sent it to her directly after Diane gave her a business card. 7 minutes of footage showing Whitman's aggression, showing Diane's restraint, showing the children's fear. Clear audio of every word, including "kids like that" and "not your neighborhood," and the threat to call Child Protective Services. She has the witness statements. The White family at the next table has already emailed her, offering to testify that Whitman was threatening and that Diane did nothing to provoke him. The manager has promised corporate will cooperate fully. 5 other customers have reached out through her council office. And she has Officer Whitman's personnel file, because as a council member, she has access to request it. And what she finds there confirms what she suspected. 6 excessive force complaints, all against Black or Latino suspects, all investigated internally, all dismissed with language like "within policy guidelines," or "insufficient evidence," or "complainant failed to cooperate with investigation." 2 racial profiling complaints, one from 2019, when Whitman allegedly told a black family at a park that they needed to leave because they did not live in Riverside. One from 2021, when Whitman allegedly used a racial slur during a traffic stop, both marked unsubstantiated. One complaint from a black business owner who claimed Whitman questioned whether he really owned the store he was opening in Riverside, demanded to see business licenses, and suggested the owner was involved in money laundering. Dismissed because the owner eventually stopped responding to internal affairs investigators who kept rescheduling interviews. This is not one bad officer. This is a system that protects bad officers, that investigates itself and finds itself innocent, that makes filing complaints so difficult that victims give up, that marks everything unsubstantiated if there is any ambiguity. That lets officers with clear patterns of racial bias continue working because internal affairs serves the department, not the community. Diane knows this. She has been fighting this for 12 years. She has proposed citizen oversight boards. She has demanded independent investigations. She has pushed for transparency in complaint processes. And she has been blocked by white colleagues who say she is anti-police, who say she does not understand officer safety, who say the system works fine. Now she has evidence, personal evidence, video documented evidence, witness corroborated evidence, and she will use every bit of it. That same evening, Diane's daughter calls. Amara will not sleep, keeps asking if the police are going to take her away, keeps asking if she did something wrong, keeps asking why the officer was so angry. Deshaun had a panic attack when he saw a police car drive past their house, started crying, said the police hate them, said he does not want to go back to restaurants. Diane's daughter is furious, protective, scared. Mom, they were just kids, just babies having lunch. What kind of person does that? Diane does not have a good answer, because the truth is too dark. The truth is that Officer Whitman saw 2 black children with nice things and could not imagine those children earned those things. Could not imagine their grandmother loved them enough to buy them. Could not see their humanity past his bias. The truth is that her grandchildren learned a lesson Diane never wanted them to learn. That being good is not enough. That making honor roll is not enough. That winning spelling bees is not enough. That at any moment, someone with power can decide you do not belong, and there is nothing you can do about it. Except there is something Diane can do. She can fight. She can sue. She can force change. So that is exactly what she does. Monday morning at 9 a.m., Diane holds a press conference on the steps of City Hall. Behind her, blown up and printed on poster board, screenshots from the video. Amara's frightened face. Deshaun's tears, Officer Whitman leaning over their table, hand near his weapon. In front of her, 15 reporters with cameras. Behind them, 50 community members who have shown up to support her. The crowd is mostly black, mostly from the East Side, mostly people who have their own stories of being questioned for existing in spaces that white people think belong only to them. Diane does not read from notes. She speaks from memory, from rage, from 12 years of fighting battles like this and finally having ammunition. On Saturday afternoon, my 9-year-old granddaughter and my 7-year-old grandson were harassed by Officer Craig Whitman of the Riverside Police Department. Was not for them. He told us we did not was not for them. He told us we did not belong there. He accused us of theft without evidence. He threatened to call Child Protective Services to take my grandchildren. And he did all of this because he could not imagine black children having nice things they earned through hard work. She pauses, lets that sink in, lets the cameras focus on the poster boards. I am a city council member. I sit on the Public Safety Committee. I vote on police budgets and contracts and oversight. But Officer Whitman did not know that. And here is the important part. He should not have needed to know that. He should have treated us with basic human dignity regardless of who I am. But he did not. Because in his mind, we were just black people in the wrong neighborhood. And that made us suspicious. That made us targets. This is not about me. I have resources. I have a platform. I have access to attorneys and media and power. But how many other families has Officer Whitman harassed who do not have those resources? How many other black families has he told to leave? How many other children has he terrorized? And how many complaints were dismissed because the victims did not have the power to fight back? Diane pulls out a folder. Thick, heavy. This is Officer Whitman's personnel file. 6 excessive force complaints. 2 racial profiling complaints, all dismissed. All investigated by his own department. All found to be unsubstantiated or within policy. This is what systemic protection of bad officers looks like, and it ends now. She announces 3 things. First, she is filing a federal civil rights lawsuit against Officer Whitman and the Riverside Police Department for racial discrimination, harassment, and infliction of emotional distress. Second, she is demanding an independent investigation by the State Attorney General into complaint handling practices at Riverside PD. Third, she is introducing a City Council resolution requiring all suburban police departments in the county to submit to citizen oversight or lose their contracts for mutual aid with city police. Within 2 hours, the press conference video has been viewed 800,000 times. Within 6 hours, 3 million. By evening, national news outlets are covering it. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. The Chick-fil-A video spreads even faster. Teenagers on TikTok, parents on Facebook, activists on Twitter, everyone sharing it with the same caption. This is what racism looks like. This is what it means when we say black children are not safe. The hashtag Justice for Amara and Deshaun trends nationally within 8 hours. By Tuesday morning, the Riverside City Manager has called an emergency meeting. The Riverside Police Chief has placed Officer Whitman on administrative leave. The Mayor of Riverside has issued a statement calling the incident troubling and promising a full investigation. But Diane is not satisfied with promises. She has heard promises before. She has watched internal investigations clear officers before. She has seen how the system protects itself. So when the Riverside City Manager calls her personally to apologize and offer to resolve this quietly, Diane says no. When the police chief offers to have Whitman apologize, Diane says no. When a mediator suggests settling quickly to avoid publicity, Diane says absolutely not. She wants discovery, wants depositions, wants every complaint against Whitman examined in public, wants the department's policies dissected, wants transparency forced where secrecy has thrived. And she gets it. The federal lawsuit is filed 3 weeks later. Foster versus City of Riverside, Officer Craig Whitman, and Riverside Police Department. Alleging violations of the Fourth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, racial discrimination, harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and a pattern of constitutional violations by the department. The defendants tried to dismiss, claim qualified immunity for Whitman, claim the city cannot be held liable for one officer's actions, claim Diane has not shown actual damages. The judge denies every motion. Qualified immunity does not apply when an officer's conduct is clearly established as unconstitutional. The city can be held liable when it fails to discipline officers with known patterns of misconduct, and damages are evident in the video of 2 children crying while their grandmother tries to protect them. The case proceeds to discovery, and what discovery reveals is damning. Internal emails show that Riverside PD supervisors knew about Whitman's complaints, knew about his use of racial language, knew about his aggressive behavior toward minority residents, and they did nothing. Because Whitman was good at paperwork, because he did not cost them money, because the people he harassed rarely followed through with complaints. One email from a lieutenant to the chief of police, written 2 years before the Chick-fil-A incident, reads, "Whitman is walking a line with his attitude toward minorities. If we do not address this, it will cost us eventually." That email becomes Exhibit A in proving the city knew and failed to act. Depositions reveal that internal affairs investigators actively discouraged complainants, rescheduled interviews repeatedly until people gave up, told complainants their cases were weak, suggested that pursuing complaints could result in countercharges for filing false reports. The pattern is undeniable. The department protected Whitman, and Whitman believed he was untouchable. 8 months after the incident, the city offers to settle $1.5 million. Diane rejects it. Not enough for the harm to her grandchildren, not enough to force real change. They counter $2 million. Diane rejects it, wants $3.2 million, wants public admission of wrongdoing, wants mandatory reforms. They settle at $3.2 million with terms that reshape how Riverside handles complaints. Financial, $3.2 million, $400,000 to Diane for emotional distress and violation of her civil rights, $800,000 to Amara, $700,000 to Deshaun, $1.3 million in punitive damages. Institutional reforms. Riverside PD must implement a citizen oversight board with subpoena power. All complaints must be investigated by independent investigators from outside the department. Officers with 3 or more complaints must undergo review for continued employment. All use of force and complaints data must be published quarterly. Body cameras required for all officers at all times while in uniform, even during breaks. Personal consequences. Officer Whitman is terminated, banned from law enforcement in the state. Criminal charges for official oppression result in conviction, probation, community service. His law enforcement certification is permanently revoked. $3.2 million cannot undo what happened, cannot erase Amara's nightmares, cannot stop Deshaun from flinching when he sees police, cannot give back the sense of safety that Officer Whitman stole from two children who thought being good meant being safe. Diane uses half of the girls' settlement funds to establish therapy trusts, to establishing the Foster Foundation for Police Accountability, a legal fund that provides attorneys for families who cannot afford to fight back when police violate their rights. 2 years after the Chick-fil-A incident, Diane is still on City Council, still fighting, still pushing for reform. The Citizen Oversight Board she forced Riverside to create has reviewed 160 complaints in 2 years, found 14 to be substantiated, resulted in 3 terminations, 7 suspensions, and 8 officers required to undergo retraining. It is not perfect, it is not complete, but it is change. Amara is 11 now, still on honor roll, still anxious around police, but learning that most officers are not like Whitman. Still carrying the tablet her Nana gave her, now covered in stickers and scratches from 2 years of use, Deshawn is 9. Still funny, still energetic, still loves dinosaurs, still remembers that day but talks about it less, still asks his Nana sometimes why that officer was so mean, and Diane still takes them out on Saturdays, still rewards their achievements, still refuses to let fear keep them from public spaces. But they do not go back to that Chick-fil-A. Some wounds do not heal enough for that. Diane's case becomes precedent. 3 other families sue Riverside PD using her case as template. All settle. All result in officer discipline. The City Council resolution Diane introduced passes 8 months after her press conference. All suburban departments in the county must submit to citizen oversight or lose mutual aid agreements. 6 departments comply. 2 lose their contracts and have to create their own oversight systems. It is not revolution, but it is progress. Slow, incomplete, but measurable. Diane sits in her city council office late one evening, looking at a photo of Amara and Deshawn from that Saturday, taken before they went to Chick-fil-A. Both smiling, both excited, both innocent. She thinks about what that day cost them, cost her, cost the fight for justice, and she thinks about what it won. Reforms that will protect other children, accountability that will stop other officers, precedent that will help other families. She does not know if it was worth it. Because nothing is worth traumatizing children. Nothing justifies what Whitman did. But since it happened anyway, at least something came from it. At least the fight mattered. At least power was used for change instead of just survival. And maybe that is the best any of us can do. Take the pain that should not exist and force it to mean something. Council Member Diane Foster spent 12 years fighting for police accountability, and when an officer harassed her and her grandchildren in a restaurant because he decided black children with tablets must be thieves, she used every resource she had to force change, not just for her family, but for every family that comes after. The $3.2 million settlement was substantial, but more important were the reforms. The oversight, the accountability systems, the message that even in wealthy white suburbs, black families have the right to exist without suspicion. So here is my question. Was the settlement enough? Should Officer Whitman have faced felony charges instead of misdemeanors? And should departments that protect bad officers lose their authority to police? Share your thoughts in the comments. This story proves that even city council members with power and platforms cannot protect their families from racism. But it also shows that power used strategically can force systems to change in ways that protect the families who come after. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next story.